Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Syn-Star Tech Talk with Giles.
Hello.
And me, Samuel, whatever you want to call me. In today's video, we are going to focus on those of you who are working remotely, out of the office or working from home. So we've got a few top tips for you to keep safe. The first tip we have is never use public Wi-Fi when dealing with sensitive information. Giles, over to you. Why?
So say, for example, you're in a coffee shop and using their Wi-Fi. You've got to remember that there's multiple people that are using that same connection. So again, depending on how sensitive the information is, but again, depending on what kind of laptop you're using, Mac you're using, there are different security settings in there. So it's just making sure that you've got a decent firewall and that you protect so that those people that are on the same network can't get in and have a look and put some nasties in there.
So the next point is, for me, this is a bit obvious, but I imagine a lot of people do fall for it, and it's quite easy to fall for it. In particular, the coffee shop context when you're popping off to the toilet, and that's don't leave your device unattended.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the thing is, most devices these days, you'll have a lot of your passwords cached on the device. So you know, you'll open up your Outlook emails, and of course they're just there. You know, you don't have to type in your password every time. So of course, if you do leave your device unattended, then yeah, someone can jump on, look at any sensitive information of passwords that you may have stored on there. So again, always try and set up your machine so that if, for example, you don't use it for a couple of minutes or 5 minutes, whatever, that it does lock itself. That's the thing, so that then you need the password to get back in.
And when we talk about encrypting your files and your emails, our next point, if we're trying to explain to someone you need your files and your emails to be encrypted, what do we mean by that?
Well, essentially, they're end-to-end encrypted, so that essentially the data, if it was taken, is kind of useless without the end-to-end point where it unencrypts it. But the main thing with that is that if you are going to be moving data around, emailing things, stuff like that, it's always good to encrypt them with passwords, just to make sure. I mean, again, but you've got to really think about how sensitive the data is and whether the data is sensitive to you or to someone else is what it's all about.
And you mentioned passwords, and that draws us nicely onto our next point about having strong passwords. It's all about authentication, isn't it? So tell us a bit about that.
Absolutely. So, for example, we're noticing now, especially with the government, for example, when you log on to any government portal, often now it texts you a code, or with banks and things like that, you'll have an app, where you've got to go in and actually say, yes, this is me, and as opposed to just typing in a written password, it will then text you a code. So that's two authentications, you see. So you've got your standard password, and then it comes through on a mobile device, for example, a PIN number. So you then type that PIN number in, and then it gives you access. So that's two forms of authentication. So super good for security.
So moving on to antivirus, which I'm sure is something most of our viewers watching are familiar with. But why is it important to ensure that your antivirus is up to date when working remotely from home?
Okay, so yeah, really important antivirus, and this is also now on mobile devices as well. It's just a big game of cat and mouse. That's all it is. So what will happen is Microsoft, for example, will produce Windows 10. They'll then put a load of updates and security patches on it. Then the hackers will look at the flaws in that product. So they'll find some way of getting into it. So what then happens is, let's say whether it's Microsoft or whether it's an external antivirus company, they will then go, look, we've found that flaw, and then they'll build a patch or an update to then protect it. So it's constantly, as I say, bad people trying to get in, they find a way, so then good people will then, basically patch that hole. And so of course, you might have antivirus on it, but if you haven't updated it in 6 months, there's going to be loads of holes in it. So it's really important. Do your updates, weekly, ideally, every week. Always push that update button, or use a managed service provider, and they'll push the updates for you.
So moving forward, another point that we're keen on pushing is all about visual theft, be aware of visual theft. So my guess is you're in a coffee shop, going back to that coffee shop scenario, and someone's actually looking over your shoulder. Tell us a bit about visual theft.
The thing is, let's say for example you're on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, some people really don't want others to see what they're doing on Facebook, whereas other people don't really mind. So don't beat yourself up about it, but there's certainly different techniques and ways that you can use to minimise visual theft, albeit if it's really that important, don't do it in public.
And as we draw to a close, about implementing a remote working from home policy in order to kind of keep yourself and your documents safe. In terms of policies, there's probably policies all over the place and everywhere, and you can think of not another policy, but why is it important to have a working from home policy regards your IT?
I don't think there's any genuine employee that is going to want anything to be stolen or, go awry. But you need to clearly break this down in whether it's in your employment contract or your employee manual when they first start, what the boundaries are, what the guidelines are. Because if you say, never back up your data on a personal drive, only ever use the cloud, etc., etc., and then you clearly break out how to do it, then they've got the guidelines. But you can't tell them off for, not backing up properly if they've never actually been told to back up, or if you've, verbally sort of said, oh, you just click that button and do it. You need to actually, make sure that you've got the clear boundaries on, this is how we want it done. These are the folders. Again, first line in any working policy is that you never ever store data locally on the machine. You should always store it on the company's, whether it's a cloud drive or a server drive. It's making sure that they understand that if the data's on their local machine and their local machine gets stolen, gets broken, whatever it is, they lose it. They lose that data. So it's making sure that everyone is saving it in a central pool, and then that central pool is backed up twice.
That's everything for Syn-Star Tech Talk in this episode. We hope you enjoyed the discussion that we had. If you've got any comments, any thoughts, whatever it may be, please comment on this video. I also encourage you to like and share this video as well to your network. And of course, going back to the comments, if you've got any ideas for future videos, we'd love to hear them.
Okay, thank you.
Take it easy. Bye.